people are saying, well, look at how white children here are underperforming, so it must be because we talk about white privilege. We need to move away entirely from this term.
White privilege does exist, and I disagree. I think it should be taught in schools. We teach breathing in schools.
Now, that doesn't mean that everything is equal, but you have an opportunity to make something of it.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to watch our favorite teacher, Kat Burble-Singh, debating white privilege with a pretty cringe activist. Now, Kat, who we have covered before, is the headmistress at a school where they actually value quality education and discipline over identity politics and indoctrination. So let's get into it, where she takes this activist to school.
A report by MPs has claimed that terms such as white privilege have led to working class children being neglected and let down.
However, it comes after the National Association of Teachers of Religious Education said that children should be taught the key concepts of white privilege in school.
Now, joining us is head teacher Catherine Burble-Singh, who thinks teaching kids about white privilege in school is nonsense, and journalist Simon London, who says it can only be a good thing.
Morning, both.
Morning to you both. Let's come to you first, Catherine. I mean, the very fact that there's a confusion about what we mean by white privilege and how people misinterpret it or interpret it in different ways, doesn't that therefore suggest that actually it is something that we should educate people about, and there's no better place to educate all of us but in our classrooms?
Well, the assumption you're making there is that all the teachers are expert on white privilege and can then teach it. It's a divisive term that undermines the cohesion of a school and of a country. The purpose of school is to teach maths, English, science, and so on. And teachers spend years at university learning those subjects so that they are very capable of teaching them. It's not something that we want. White privilege, right now, people are saying, well, look at how white children here are underperforming, so it must be because we talk about white privilege. We need to move away entirely from this term and see school for what it is. Children who do their homework, children who aren't on their phones until 3 a.m. can succeed, whatever colour they are. They're all in the same classroom being taught by the same teachers.
Who is qualified to talk about this? Boom, she picked up on it right there. The presupposition that he tried to smuggle into the debate that there is anybody in the world who is an expert on white privilege, something that is rooted in pure ideology. And it's so perfect to have her in this debate because she is somebody who actually lives what she says. She actually puts these philosophies into action rather than sitting around and complaining about it.
Put a car in front of me and said, create a different kind of car, Catherine. Be creative, think outside the box. I wouldn't know what to do because I don't know anything about cars. But if you tell me to turn education on its head, I've done exactly that. I've been very radical, I've thought outside the box, and I've done things very differently. Why? Because I know education inside out.
She's working in the field and getting excellent results. And if you guys want to learn more about her, then you can check out this other video that I did where she debated people on a panel about slavery and colonialism. We went into more details in that video about her personal endeavors. So now let's have a look at the response from the race hustler, which is not in the same league.
I mean, the irony of us talking about white privilege is that this report by the Education Select Committee says that we need to move away from using the term white privilege because actually it is leading to division and it isn't helpful. And the white working class children who are underperforming are suffering as a result of the constant use of the term white privilege in schools.
Yeah, I don't accept that at all. I think that this is the select committee that did the report was mainly made up of members of this government who have a history of sort of divisiveness themselves and using a smokescreen for things when they've been discredited. I mean, somebody on this report, somebody who was actually a member of this committee, wanted to resign about this report anyway. The fact of the matter is, white privilege does exist. And I disagree. I think it should be taught in schools. I agree that it's a divisive term, but also we teach breathing in schools, but we just call it biology. You know, this could be taught under sociology. It could be, there's privilege wherever you go. I remember my son going to nursery and actually having somebody taking a toy off them and him hitting them, and we having to tell him, you don't hit other kids. You know, there he is now, he's 19 and he doesn't hit anybody anymore. You don't hit other kids, and you especially don't hit girls, because boys are stronger than girls, and that's not teaching him feminism, that's just teaching him about the world. So I think that this is just
So he actually just compared white privilege and the validity and objectivity of that idea with breathing, biology, sociology, and not being violent to other people. Really, bro? White privilege should be taught alongside breathing? Well, I mean, it actually kind of does make sense, because for a lot of these race hustlers, white privilege and racial grievances is life. For them, not having racial grievances is like not having air to breathe. So at least it's actually kind of philosophically consistent with their worldview. Now, let's watch Kat cook again.
Let's just put this to Catherine. As a head teacher, do you feel that you're fighting a losing battle with other schools of a higher class, your Etons, your public schools? Do you think your kids, regardless of what colour they are, can they compete at that level? Do you really think that it is a level playing ground?
While I've got your attention, guys, don't forget to like the video, send it far and wide if you can, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And also, don't forget to check the reality-based store out, guys. We have lots of merch for women. Any ladies who want to pick themselves up some based merch can do so. Plus, we've got heaps of other designs, guys. We've got posters, cups, hoodies, you name it, something for everybody. So check out the catalog below, guys, and you can also hit those links, realitybasedstore.com. It's going to be at the top of the bio and the top of the comments. Let's get back to it.
It may not be a level playing ground. Of course, I get £4,500 per child, and Eton will get somewhere between 25 and 35 grand per year. So obviously there is a difference in terms of what I can offer the children. Having said that, if you have a family that is hugely supportive of education, and you work hard and do your homework and turn up on time and wear your uniform properly and all those sorts of things, you have a really good chance in this country. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is equal, but you have an opportunity to make something of it. And the more that we talk down that opportunity, the less likely it is that children will engage with the establishment. And so it just isn't helpful to talk about these things in this way. What's good is encouraging children to work hard. And that is the number one thing that keeps children back, is not working hard enough. That doesn't mean there isn't racism. That doesn't mean that there isn't classism. And it doesn't mean that I'm not able to offer karate and judo and a whole variety of martial arts as they will at Eton. But I can offer the children excellent teaching, and that isn't happening in all schools. And that isn't anyone's fault necessarily, but the media and all of these sorts of reports, they concentrate on the wrong things that undermines and distracts us from the real argument, which is how can we make our schools better?
There's levels to this. So much truth in one monologue. So let's get into it. Nothing beats hard work, and if you put the right steps in place with the development of children, then they will achieve positive outcomes. There is absolutely zero point in teaching little children about racial grievances and identity politics unless you want them to start otherizing young children from a young age. Little kids don't care about colour. That's the beauty of children. They're unsullied by politics and all of these disgusting parts of human nature that we have to contend with as adults. So there's no point in teaching them these things unless you want to raise activists. Well, which, I mean... Anyways, moreover, there's no point in sexualizing them either and teaching them about homosexuality and teaching them about transgenderism unless you want to remove them from their natural state and raise a whole generation of homosexuals and transgenders. Which, well, I mean...
Dad, I'm trans. Be popular. You're gonna be popular.
So, I mean, it kind of does make sense when you really think about it. Because these people live and breathe cultural Marxism, which means that meritocracy, normality, and the pursuit of excellence are like kryptonite for them. Lastly, she brings up all different kinds of factors and personality traits and characteristics that, if you look at it, are just as important, if not more, than race. Firstborn child privilege, intelligence, IQ, beauty privilege, and so much more. And it just goes to show that race is arbitrary and it's not backed up by empirical facts, and it is just chosen purely to further an ideology. It's an emotional argument. So let's have a listen to the rest.
Catherine, I kind of agree with you, actually. I mean, the whole idea of a white privilege debate about this and dividing kids in the classroom by this concept of race and colour is certainly divisive. And what I find interesting is, though, why do we constantly compare white working class kids to other kids of colour? But we have never, in all the reports in my time, I've never seen a report that compares white working class kids to white middle class or upper class kids at Eton. We never have that comparison. It's always a comparison about colour. Isn't that an issue that we do need to address? That division amongst class throughout the whole across this country.
That's completely where it's divisive. It's divisive because Catherine just said you need two things to succeed. You need parent support being supportive at home, and you need good teachers in schools. Well, this report says that over 10 years of this last government, there's been completely a lack of investment in the schools, and so they're trying to move the issue or to move the blame on to this idea of white privilege. And again, it's just a distraction, and actually we need more investment in schools to get these good teachers, to get great schools that aren't falling down. And the privilege argument is just a smokescreen. Yeah, Catherine's right, there's privilege wherever we go, but I don't think we just turn our backs on it. I mean, if you're able-bodied, then you have privilege over disabled people.
Let me just
if it's hot in the summer and you want to take your top off in the park, then men have more privilege over women in being able to do that. Some of that needs to be taught, and some of that needs to be accepted.
Let's just put this to Catherine. As a head teacher, do you feel that you're fighting a losing battle with other schools of a higher class, your Etons, your public schools? Do you think your kids, regardless of what colour they are, can they compete at that level? Do you really think that it is a level playing ground?
It may not be a level playing ground. Of course, I get £4,500 per child, and Eton will get somewhere between 25 and 35 grand per year. So obviously there is a difference in terms of what I can offer the children. Having said that, if you have a family that is hugely supportive of education and you work hard and do your homework and turn up on time and wear your uniform properly and all those sorts of things, you have a really good chance in this country. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is equal, but you have an opportunity to make something of it. And the more that we talk down that opportunity, the less likely it is that children will engage with the establishment. And so it just isn't helpful to talk about these things in this way. What's good is encouraging children to work hard. And that is the number one thing that keeps children back, is not working hard enough. That doesn't mean there isn't racism. That doesn't mean that there isn't classism. And it doesn't mean that I'm not able to offer karate and judo and a whole variety of martial arts as they will at Eton. But I can offer the children excellent teaching. And that isn't happening in all schools. And that isn't anyone's fault necessarily. But the media and all of these sorts of reports, they concentrate on the wrong things that undermines and distracts us from the real argument, which is how can we make our schools better?
Well, and I think on that, both of you are agreed. I mean, I think, Simon London, you know, we have had a devastating year for school children because of coronavirus. We have had disrupted education, homeschooling that has been extremely patchy for many children, parents under pressure to support their children with their education in a way that we've never been challenged before. I can't imagine, how it's going to work out for these children who are particularly disadvantaged.
I agree with those things, but I think this is this year or this last year has been the straw that broke the camel's back. There just hasn't been that investment in education that you would expect over these last 10 years as well. I mean, there are lots of families, lots of parents out there who would like to be supportive of kids, who are holding down 2-3 jobs in order to actually put food on the table, and then asking them to be kind of as supportive as they can be when they can't be around is really unfair. There just needs to be more investment.
Totally agree.
There needs to be more investment from the government, and for them to actually put out a report and then make the highlight of it about white privilege, they should be held to account. And that's not the main issue of this report. The main issue of this report, when you go back and read it, is this government has not invested in children. Privilege should be taught in schools so that everybody knows about it. As I say, you know, there's a massive privilege for able-bodied people over disabled people as well. And we should think about that as much as we think about colour. But let's not sort of push this under the carpet and say it's all about white privilege and pitting class against class. when in fact it's about money and investment for children.
Yeah. Simon London, thank you. Catherine Burble-Singh, thank you. A fascinating conversation.
So education is just so important, guys. I mean, the next generation of children that are being educated right now are the ones who are going to filter out into the world, and they're going to one day occupy all of the major institutions, and the amount of brainwashing and indoctrination that is happening these days is absolutely scandalous.
Now, you can't decide where your kid's going to school. You can't decide whether or not they can move a halfway house for drug users next door to you or whatnot.
It's out of your control. The government decides that.
That's right.
Stuff.
The government decides too many things. They decide also how your children will be raised. You may have an idea about at what age children should be introduced to sex, and in what manner, with what kind of moral commitments.
You mean as a parent?
As a parent, yes. The schools have taken that over. By the time you even think about it, they've already had years, of showing.
They're passing out condoms to these kids.
Passing out condoms is not even the half of it. They're showing motion pictures of naked couples engaging in sex, both homosexual and heterosexual, in the 7th grade.
My name is Noah Schwartz. My pronouns are he, they. We got to set clear expectations for our future board members, And first, I'd like to say you guys are doing a great job of dismantling systems of oppression. And there's no greater source of systematic oppression than the nuclear family. The nuclear family is associated with whiteness. And whiteness is associated with racism, bigotry, transphobia, and white supremacy. Just look at these QAnon, Trump-supporting parents protesting at your meetings. Oh, I don't want my kid to get vaccinated. I don't want my kid to wear a mask. Why is my kindergartner taking puberty blockers? Why is there a urinal in the girls' room? Well, you're a domestic terrorist, and you need to be investigated by the FBI. Racism, bigotry, and hatred have no place in our schools, and quite frankly, I don't understand why you're still allowing parents to speak here. And to all the parents who feel that they have the right to be involved in their kids' education, well, you're a white supremacist, and your children need to be taken away from you so that we can create a more tolerant and inclusive society. And the tradition of raising children is outdated and obsolete. And our children, they need to be groomed instead. Groomed to be tolerant, loving, anti-racist, and comfortable with their gender fluidity. Thank you for hearing me out on why we need to dismantle the patriarchy, dismantle oppression, dismantle whiteness, and most importantly, dismantle the nuclear family. The New World Order that we are trying to create starts with our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Gordon Flowers.
And I'm only 28, but back when I was younger, there was none of this. And 2 decades is not that long a time for there to have been such a seismic shift in the way that little kids are being educated. And that's most likely why one day I'll probably homeschool my kids instead of going for the traditional education route. If that option is available to me, I'll probably do it. And if I have to go down the school route, it would have to be a reality-based school that shares my values. And any school that has anything to do with the government these days most likely will not, or probably definitely won't. Anyways, guys, don't forget to check out the reality-based store. Find the best and most based merch in the whole entire world just below at the top of the comments in the bio. If you guys would like to subscribe to the channel, you can click right here. If you'd like to watch another one, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.